just as an introduction, we are going to go around and tell us your name, where you work, what your position is. And our question of the day is, name one personal achievement that you are most proud of. So I'll pop it to someone and you just pop it to the next person on your screen. So I'm going to go with Emily Downey first.
Hi, everyone. Emily Downey. I'm the MSW intern at H3 right now. And the first thing that popped in my head was going back to school 10 years after graduating with 2 kids. That's my biggest achievement. I'm still going.
You want to pass it to someone, Emily, or I can pick somebody?
Timothy Hamp.
Good morning, Timothy Hamp, Contra Costa County Independent Living Skills Program Assistant Coordinator. And I'm sorry, the question of the day again, Morgan, was?
Tell us one personal achievement that you're most proud of.
One personal achievement most proud of is, I guess recently just being able to move all the clutter out of my garage.
All right.
And I'm going to pass over to Pamela.
Hi, everyone. I'm using a different computer. My name is actually Letitia Wiesner, and I am with Trinity Center. And right now I'm a consultant staff person overseeing the members advocates and case managers services with Trinity Center. So this is my first meeting with all of you. And I guess the biggest accomplishment I could think of is just having the ability to have worked with so many different populations and seeing all the good work that's being done with a lot of different organizations. So I'm really excited, and that's probably the biggest accomplishment, to work with so many wonderful folks. So thank you.
Nice. I'm glad you could join us. How about we go to Jasmine? Do you want to go next?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Jasmine. I am from the Reentry Success Center. I know some of our other staff have been to these meetings. This is my first time here, so it's really nice to meet you all. Looking forward to the meeting. I would say my biggest accomplishment has been getting an apartment of my own, I would say, just recently. So, and with that, I will pass it on to Catherine.
Good morning. So I'm just getting in. What was the question? I apologize.
So Catherine, we're asking everybody to introduce themselves, tell us where you work, and tell us one personal achievement that you're proud of.
Okay, well, I'm Catherine Joyner. I work for RCD Housing, and I am the resident services coordinator for 4 sites and 4 mobile properties. And something that well, as far as work related, just recently we had a resident who was being evicted, and she was a domestic violence case. She was letting the guy come back. So long story short, it was back and forth, back and forth. They saw footage, the guy's still coming. So finally, she took a stance and was like, got a restraining order, etc. When they got through with the restraining order that she brought, it had been tampered with. So the date had been changed from what they were saying. So she swears she didn't do it. It was the court. However, the date that it was changed to was a Sunday. So it was hard to believe. Pretty hard case, right? Well, as you know, I tried to advise her. The only thing she could do is get another one from the court that is real, and then she has to stick to it. So glad to say she did do her part. She got her help from other resources that she needed, and she's still here. And I just told her, just keep working at it and stay on top of it, because if they see him, you know, you can lose everything, and it's not worth that. You know, if you have to see him, if anything happens like that, go somewhere else away from here. Don't allow that to ever be seen again. And I think that that's awesome. Anytime we can stop someone from being homeless, especially when they've gone through something like that, that's a great accomplishment. And then I guess I will sit, Sandra, have you went yet?
Good morning. No, I haven't. My name is Sandra. I work with Hope Solutions. And I would say my biggest, I didn't catch the part if it was recently or just ever. But if it's recently, I'm going to say going through my closet, because I have a tendency to attach to all of my clothes, even though they might not fit anymore. So I would say just going through my closet. Let's see, I will pass it to Tina.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tina Koznicka, and I am with Shelter Inc. I am the program manager of Employment and Eligibility Services. I think the most thing recently that I'm proud about is just the development of a employment program that we are implementing in 3 of our shelters throughout Contra Costa, Solano, and Sacramento, helping a very motivational, uplifting, get you back on your feet, get your priorities in order kind of program to help them to become employed. And hi, Letitia, I miss you.
Do we want to pass over Gerald? Do you want to go? Do you want to tell us one of your proudest achievements?
That's a difficult one. I'm with the Advisory Council on Aging. I'm a retired attorney, and I suppose it's not really an accomplishment, but being able to continue to serve after retiring in the various ways that I do is accomplishment enough for me.
I think that's a pretty big accomplishment. Who else has gone? Hikmat, do you want to go?
Sure, yeah. My name is Hikmat Babak. I am education and employment specialist here with Hope Solution. I'm working with the probation team to Hope Solution. I will assist them with the education or employment search here in Contra Costa.
Did he freeze for other folks, or is it just me?
So I'll say I got jobs for 6 of my clients. So this is a big achievement for me since I've been working with the Hope Solution with different clients. So yeah, I'm so happy I helped those back to the normal life. So that gives me more motivation and positivity to work hard and work with them and help the community. Yeah. So I don't know who is next, so
I'll go next.
Okay.
So, hi, Maureen Nelson with the Workforce Development Board, and I would say my greatest achievement is finishing my graduate degree in career development, because I was working full-time, which is more than 40 hours, and taking 2 classes and juggling an internship, working at night at a career center. And it was a real struggle to keep up with everything. So that's my greatest achievement. Let me see. So, Betty hasn't gone. Betty?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Betty Geischer, Cantrell, Senior Director for Spark Point Contra Costa. I'm going to take it a whole new direction. My husband and I have a competition barbecue team, and we have won many, many awards. So that's something that I'm very proud of. People like to come watch us compete because then they get all the leftovers. So, Letitia, have you gone yet?
I did, Betty, and it's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Morgan, who's next?
I think we can go to Jasmine.
All right, Jasmine.
Hi, I presented or I shared mine already as well.
Oh, you did. Let's go over to Joe
Thank you.
Bruno.
Hi, everyone. Joe Bruno here. I am a lived experience advisor with Delta Peers in East County, really representing the whole county, but peer support specialist, lived experience advisor for the Council on Homelessness, and also vice chair too for the council. And I will have to say, with this whole back and forth that I've done with my homelessness battle, and not having residency to get a new license, and to there was so many things that prevented me from doing stuff because I didn't have a valid license. And so my accomplishment is, after 2 years of battling it, I am finally legal again, and it is the best feeling to have the license back, and I was able to do the residency. It's just an accomplishment that is beyond, I'm just grateful. So that's me. I don't know who's next, but I'll just throw it out there.
Nice job, Joe. Thanks for sharing. Plus, that's really exciting, Betty. I didn't know that side of you. I think, Nadal, have you gone?
No, not yet. My name is Nidal DeCesar. I'm the transitional specialist for Liberty Adult Education. My personal achievement, I was an ESL teacher for over 32 years. And I was able to work with students that were immigrants that come to our country to make a better life for themselves. I was able to provide them with the education for them to become independents. And when I walk into a place and I find them taking those roles was big. But I am back doing the same thing, except working with adults. And so I am very proud to able to do that, to transition from young adults to adults and help them pursue that. That I have a client yesterday who's a plastic surgeon in his old country, and he's doing Instacarts, and that's not going to work for me. So I'm on a mission to make sure that this person gets to place into a job where he can practice his skills and live a good life. That's it. I'll leave it to you, Morgan. You pick next.
You know, Dennis Rojas joined us. I know he hasn't gone.
So Dennis, what we're doing is introducing ourselves. Did he disappear?
Oh, I'm here. Thanks.
Oh, Dennis, there you are, your face. Introduce yourself, where you work, and tell us one of your greatest achievements.
My name is Dennis Rojas. I work for the Department of Veteran Affairs in Martinez. I cover Contra Costa and a few other counties. I'm also on the board of the Veteran Accession House here in Contra Costa. So greatest achievements caught me off guard. I don't.
It could be a recent achievement as well.
Well, one of them is helping a veteran who in Sacramento get off of probation with the courts. I wrote a letter to the judge, which was really helpful. And then he's moving to San Antonio at the end of the month, and getting him into the welders apprenticeship program with the union. and kind of doing that without ever going to San Antonio, just making a lot of phone calls on behalf of the veteran, maybe a lot of phone calls, and working with helmets to hard hats, and you know, getting his, like, because this veteran has major significant PTSD and a lot of challenges, and so, you know, finding him housing down there in San Antonio, getting him you know, into the union, and then plus getting him off of probation here in Sacramento. So that's, to me, that's still working on. I mean, there's just a lot of moving pieces, but yeah, that was like giving birth. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So I think we've got Nick, Janae, and then we'll have Jamie go last. So Nick, if you want to go next, and then pass to Janae.
Hi, everybody. Nicholas Carter with Hope Solutions, Housing Navigator for our YYA program. One of my biggest personal accomplishments is been trying to break various cycles and provide a better environment for my children to grow up in. And in the last, well, it's been about a year now, I moved into a house, and I've lived in apartments my whole life. So that was a big positive for me. Janae, if you'd like to go.
Yes. So my name is Janae. I am the program director for our employment and training unit here at Source of Plowshares. I would say greatest accomplishment, it's interesting. So personally, my greatest accomplishment is literally raising 3 young adults in Oakland. So, but professionally, I feel like one of my greatest accomplishments is creating a proposal that awarded us one of the first Oakland workforce grants that we've ever had for Source of Plowshares. So just creating that proposal and being awarded that so that we have more funding for our veterans to be able to do what we do was a big accomplishment for us, since that was our first time receiving that award, grant. So I will pass it over to.
I think I'm the last one.
Oh,
I'm Jamie.
There
Thanks,
you go.
Janae. I'm Jamie Jeanette. I am the Community Engagement Specialist for Health, Housing, and Homeless Services, and Maureen and I are sort of co-staff for this meeting. I think my greatest personal achievement, when my son was born about 14 years ago, when he was a baby, he got very, very ill. He was actually in congestive heart failure and in the intensive care unit for 4 months. And while that was happening, my job at the time started to fall apart. And so I had to actually apply for and start to look for a new job while that was all happening. And there was a day where my son was very, very, very ill. And it was the day of my job interview with the county. And I pulled on my big girl pants, and I went to the interview, and I got the job. And that actually started my path at the county, which I think is my lifelong path. So I think for me, pulling it together on that particular day was still one of the hardest things I ever did, and one of the best decisions I ever made.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think we actually have one new person that showed up, Khalil. So glad to see you. So we're doing our intros is our name, affiliation, and one personal achievement that you're proud of.
My apologies for being late. I'm in charge of 5 different counties. We had a Santa Clara specialty providers network meeting, so I sincerely apologize. I am Khalil Macklin. I'm with Anthem Blue Cross, 20+ year experience in the Medicare, Medi-Cal field, the county account manager in the Medicaid space. And you said, what was the follow-up?
A personal achievement that you're proud of that you want to share. It can be little, it can be big.
Honestly, for me, lately, the more I see the maturation in my kids, I'm proud of that. Like yesterday, my son's, he's a 7th grader, so he's 12 years old, but he brought home a college workshop form for us to go yesterday to a college workshop with 40 colleges, the Air Force, the military, the Marines, all these different things. We sat down and learned about the path that he should be taking, and everybody there are 11th and 12th graders. And my son's the only 7th grader. He's kind of tall, so people are thinking, oh, so you're in the 10th grade, you're doing this early. And I'm like, no, he's in the 7th grade and he's doing this. So those accomplishments, seeing my daughter right now in her first year of college and her maturation, and my youngest daughter getting confident with dance and learning instruments and things like that. So just seeing what I've poured into them actually come to fruition, if that makes sense, is a bigger accomplishment than anything I could do on my own. So.
Awesome. Thank you all. I love these kind of questions because you actually get to know people. And I think part of what this purpose of this group is to help build those relationships, right, between workforce and homeless services. I think a lot of our work is really built on relationships. So I know it might feel hokey for some folks, but I actually think this part is really important. So I think the next thing we want to move to is, we don't normally do this in this meeting, but we are going to review the minutes from last meeting because we talked about a lot of things that actually I think are worth revisiting. So let me just pull these up. Hold on, let me make them bigger. Because part of what we talked about last month was sort of the structure of this group. And Maureen, I don't know if you want to like say anything about this, the wins and the H-wins and sort of where we landed with that.
Yeah, just so very quickly, just for the benefit of people who are maybe new to the group, the wins grew out of, they used to be called the site enhancement team, and the county ran 4 career centers throughout the county. And, you know, we offered the education and employment stuff, but all of our partners maybe offered services that it's like we couldn't do everything on site. We needed the partners to maybe offer services to people with disabilities. So that would be Department of Rehab or, you know, youth or veterans or whatever. So we invited all these other partners either to be on site at the career centers or to come to this site enhancement team group, which is now the WIN Workforce Integration Network, to collaborate and have some FaceTime with each other and, informally co-case manage if we shared a client, of course, with the client's permission. And it was really helpful. It was also a forum for us as agencies to present to each other. And so then the sets kind of died away. There was change of management and so on. And then when I started with the county 10 years ago, I was in charge of relaunching them. So they're basically the same thing. WIN is Workforce Integration Network. And because the county is no longer running the career centers, there's just the one comprehensive career center in Concord. There's just the one WIN, but there's also these 10 on-ramps or access points to our program. So we're still serving the entire county. And the WINs have been operating in parallel with the H-WINs, the Homeless and Workforce Integration Network that grew out of a Workforce Accelerator grant. And so we have looked at these two groups going like, oh, these kind of duplicate each other. And then it's like, no, they don't duplicate because this is really a specialized population that we're looking at. So my director, Tamia Brown, said they need to continue. They need to both continue. They're not going to merge. And so then we have spent the past couple of months talking to both groups saying, what would that look like? Because there's a lot of choices, right? So then I want to go to the notes here, and forgive me for reading the notes, but this is really the essence of it here. So as we do recognize, I'm going down to the bullets really, we do recognize that it's kind of hard for people to attend both meetings, but if you don't, then you have the fear of missing out. One thing that helps you not feel like you're missing out so much is making sure you get if you do miss one of the meetings, that you get the notes. So we have produced pretty detailed notes out of our meetings. The WINs do not produce any notes. So I said, in order to go forward, you guys need to commit to producing notes for every one of your meetings. And so they have agreed to that. The other thing is, are the meetings on different days, or are they the same day? So my director said they need to be on the same day, kind of back to back, so people could, roll from one into the other if they wanted to attend both. And both groups have agreed to that. Could you scroll back up? Oh, okay. So another thing that is a little bit different is the structure. So for the WINS, they have continued with 3 different groups, but because of COVID, and they used to meet in person, but because of COVID, they're all online, but they still have 3 groups, whereas we have 1 group and we can do 3 breakouts geographically if needed. Some meetings we do that, some meetings we don't. The WIN is going to adopt our structure where they will have 1 virtual meeting. Everyone in the county is invited. And if they need to do geographical breakouts, they will do that during the meeting. So that's going to be a little bit easier for them. The other thing is like, oh, how often do we meet? So, they meet monthly because they're rotating around. We meet every other month. But we decided next year that we would just have them quarterly, which will be, kind of less of a burden. There is a lot of administrative work to running these groups. And then one of the concerns brought up by the groups was like, oh, we want to hear the announcements, and announcements usually happen at the end of a meeting. And, is there going to be a common period? There can't really be a common period. One meeting has to stop and people log off, and then they have to log in to the next one. So I don't really know a good solution for that, except, attend both meetings, or maybe some key announcements could happen at the beginning of a meeting. And okay, now you can scroll down. Let me see. So, oh yeah, okay, things that would be covered in the announcements: events, programs, partnerships, grants, training, or recruitment. There's a lot. And then, so the other thing I wanted to say is that the thing that is sometimes missing for an in-person meeting is that for a virtual meeting that you miss with not having in-person, is that you don't get to maybe take a tour of a place. Okay, sorry, let me back up. So the WINS, when they were meeting in person, they didn't just always meet in Concord. They actually rotated around to the different member agencies, which allowed them, each agency, to showcase their programs, their staff. People could see the location. They could, drive. Like I remember driving to Department of Rehab in Point Richmond, going like, oh, if I sent a client here, would they be able to figure out how to get there or whatever? So that's helpful. And so that would be missing if we all go to virtual. I mean, we are all virtual, but what we said, the way that we would deal with that is we can always supplement the virtual meetings with a tour. If there's really interest in an agency and their programs, let's have a field trip. And so that would help with that. Let me see. And then the next section on the topics, I feel like that's a separate discussion. So anything anyone wants to ask or add to this about the 2 groups in the structure? Okay. No, not hearing anything. So, okay, I guess that is what will happen next year, and we'll, publish a calendar ahead of time, so you'll know all the meetings for the year. And it will probably be the 2nd Wednesday of the month. Yeah.
For the HWINS. Well, actually, it's perfect. This is a perfect segue, because one of the things I think we wanted to talk about some was next year. So I'm going to pull up a document where I just wanted to jot some notes for us. And actually, let me just grab, so some of the topics, I'm gonna grab some of the topics that people said they were interested in the last meeting. And start to talk about like what people might want to hear when, and if they had particular speakers or programs or things that they wanted to talk about. And a couple other things just about next year. So one is Monty Bonsack has been sort of the co-chair with Morgan, and Monty had to step down. So we're looking for another person who might be interested in helping basically plan the meetings. And it's not really a huge lift. It's mostly meeting with Maureen and I to plan meeting agendas and that sort of thing. So just putting that in the hopper.
And facilitating the meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, and Monty was the chair, so we're looking for a
Got
chair.
Yep.
Morgan is co-chair because
Thank you.
she was also a regional facilitator.
Got it. Thank you. So just putting that in the hopper. And the other thing is we've been breaking out by what we actually haven't done it in the last meeting or two, but part of the structure of the meeting is to, towards the end, have us break out by geographical regions, right? So East County, folks working mostly in East County get together and talk about issues there, Central, West, which is kind of the structure for this year. For next year, we could continue to do it that way or have it sort of by topic. And so Morgan and Maureen, I don't know if you have thoughts about that, what that might look like.
By region or topic. Oh, yeah, we can definitely do that. Sorry, I just realized, so Morgan, I wasn't saying you couldn't be chair. I just didn't want you to feel like you were obligated to be chair and a regional facilitator. So, I mean, certainly you can step up and be chair, and then we need a co-chair and also a regional facilitator for Central. Breakouts by region or topic. Yeah, the breakout by topic thing, I'm just trying to think of a situation like that. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
I think I
yeah,
can,
go ahead.
what I
Yeah,
had
go
thought
ahead,
was,
please.
is we had discussed these different important factors that people are working with, or people wanted to build connections with, whether it's focusing on employment barriers, young adults, housing.
Oh, I see.
And we had discussed possibly having kind of small working groups of sorts to come up with issues that everyone is facing in the county and possible solutions to those issues. That might be bigger than what we could accomplish in these meetings if we're only, quarterly.
Right.
That might have been a bigger kind of perspective.
The other thing I wanted to check in on, and this is my bad that I can't remember. So right now we're meeting every other month. And I'm trying to remember in the last meeting if we decided that we wanted to move quarterly or we want to stay every other month.
I think we're moving quarterly.
Okay.
Because the wins are going to be quarterly.
Got it. Okay.
And then
and do those,
do
we have, are the dates set for 2023 for those yet, so that we know what the pattern will be?
No, we don't know when they start. We know they're going to be the second week. It could be January, or it could be, March, like the third month, and each one it could be March, June, September, December, or something like that. Or we could avoid December entirely. I don't know.
And do they have specific topics already planned out? Do you know? Or
They do not. They do not.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have planning meetings for their meetings like we do. So they just kind of go like, they look for volunteers to present, and if they don't get a volunteer, they go like, no, we don't have a volunteer presenter. We'll just meet to talk. So it's not as rigorously planned as this group is.
Okay. Well, actually, now that I'm remembering that we're moving quarterly, this actually helps. I mean, these fit pretty neatly. There were 4 main topics that came, well, 5 really. And so one thing I'm wondering, so employment barriers was a topic, and I'm wondering if this group here wants to sort of drill down further of like, are there
Yes.
specific ones? Are there specific speakers? Are there specific, like, if we're planning the agenda to focus on employment barriers, are there specific questions that you have, resources that you're looking for, agencies that you know are really supportive? This is a time for us. This is kind of a planning section for next year.
Yeah, when I hear, sorry to
Yep,
jump
go
in.
ahead.
When I see the phrase employment barriers, that's like 12 categories spring up in my head. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, which ones do you want to talk about? And you could, well, here's the thing I want to bring up that was kind of a good idea from the old site enhancement teams is the site coordinator in Concord, she would choose like a theme or an arc, maybe for half a year, you know, maybe for 6 months, or, you know, probably not for the whole year, but she would invite speakers that were within that theme. So for instance, if we wanted to spend, you know, 2 meetings on employment barriers, we could invite people to, you know, we'll like, what are the top ones we're really concerned about? You know, maybe it's, you know, having a criminal record or something like that. And then we'll find those speakers. And by the time, you know, maybe two speakers or 3 speakers at each meeting, 3 sounds like a lot, but maybe, you know, by the time 2 meetings have passed, you have heard from 4 different speakers talking about 4 different barriers. And now you have kind of a toolkit, you have some resources. So we could do themes like that, you know, or not, but that might be a very organized way to go where you feel like, okay, now I have something comprehensive takeaway.
So I think if, you know, if other people on the call that work in housing that don't maybe have specialized employment staff on hand, what are some of the biggest issues that you face with kind of supporting your clients in finding employment, which, you know, leads to stable housing? That might be a good thing to bring up that we could put under this employment barrier section.
So basically, if you don't have in-house employment supports at agency, what resources are you using? Is that the question?
Well, yeah, just to kind of get the conversation going. I think Gerald had a comment to make. He raised his hand.
Yes, at some earlier time in the year, there was discussion of the need for people who are homeless to have transportation to get to a job so that they can earn enough money to perhaps get housing. And I mentioned that there's at least one program in the county that uses volunteers, drivers, to transport folks anywhere in the county at whatever time they need to do it. Were there funding available to add to this program? Perhaps the program would consider adding this as an activity that is not being covered, if that is a need sufficient.
I remember this being brought up before. So workforce development supports people with transportation while they're in training. But once they get a job, we don't really support them in transportation. The regulations allows for transportation for their first month of employment or getting their first paycheck. And I don't know if our contractors implement that, if they go with that.
Well, there, you know, that is perhaps an activity that could be funded out of the Measure X funding.
Oh.
Because that's, you know, a different source of income.
Okay, sorry, now we're getting into solutions.
So.
Yep, so I hear transportation as a clear barrier that maybe we would want to focus on. I'm wondering actually, like, so Maureen, if say we in fantasy world, we like went with this idea of spending two meetings on employment barriers. Part of what I would love to do is brainstorm now what some of those barriers are, but we could also do a poll of all the people that have attended these meetings to see if there are others. But this came up as like the top challenge when we did a little poll last meeting.
Yeah, and childcare falls into the same category.
Yep.
While someone's in training, we can pay for childcare.
Yep.
Once they get a job, we don't pay for childcare unless it's until they get their first paycheck.
Right. So we can figure out a bunch of speakers and stuff for that. So we've got transportation, childcare. What are some other, I'm looking to see.
I would like to add one, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One of the barriers that I have with my clients here is they don't have money to get their papers either translated into English or evaluated so they can get the jobs that they need. And it's a big obstacle. It's very expensive to go outside and get their papers evaluated into some kind of a document that is accepted by employers or higher education.
And when you say documents, just so I'm clear, so
Education, their educational
Okay.
document,
Okay, great.
their transcripts from
Yep,
their
got it. Okay.
countries. So yes.
Okay, great. I see education, I see background, and I'm assuming part of that is like criminal justice system involvement. Affordable childcare, transportation. Any other key things that tend to come up as barriers? Does like substance abuse and mental health symptoms that are untreated or unmanaged is like, again, this is still kind of a new arena for me. Is that a common barrier to employment, or it's more these sort of nuts and bolts things like?
I'm going to jump in real quick on that because this
Go
is
ahead.
where I've been thinking. I'm glad you brought this up. There needs to be the discussion around not all work is the same. Like when you say work, there's no way that I can do 40 hours a week in an office, right? But then what does that look like? Like, is there a specific short term? Do you have, part-time work? The different kinds of work, I think is, because, the barriers, sometimes I'm just like a 40 hours a week, there's no way, with all of the mental health stuff and everything else, trying to battle homelessness. It's just a lot to deal with sometimes. And so I wonder if there's any kind of discussion around what does work actually look like, with different kinds of work.
Well, and Joe, what I'm thinking of related to that too is like, and again, this is like a world that I'm still learning, like if somebody is able to work part-time, but only part-time because they are disabled, like, is there partial disability? Are there other programs that can help supplement income? Yeah, I mean, that's like a whole arena that I don't even know, like that I'm not familiar with. So I mean, I guess this is a question for the group, like what happens with employment if somebody is not able to work full-time because of disability, whether it's behavioral health, whether it's physical? Is the goal always to have people work 40 hours a week? How would we capture that as is it a barrier, or does it live in some other bucket?
Well, I think you're really hitting a big question, Jamie, and I'm sure everybody else has experienced it, is there is that process where someone has to address mental health issues or substance abuse issues and get stabilized to get to the point where they can actively and successfully participate in employment. So that, you know, Joe saying, what does work look like? And there are people that can maybe work part-time, but where's that support where they can get their healing or the work that they need to be done in the mental health arena to kind of stabilize enough to work? I think that is a big challenge. I don't know if there's an answer yet, maybe someone else, but.
I see Gerald and then Joe.
Well, from an employer's point of view, if you need a full-time worker, why not job share with two people who are in a position that they can't work full-time, but the two of them together or could make up a full-time job? That seems to me a simple solution if the employer is willing to do that.
And I like that because it touches upon, so people who are working, like everybody who's on this call right now, you have 40+ hours a week that you're working, and sometimes you need a break. Sometimes there needs to be a moment of, I need a week off. I need some self-care. And that self-care factor, I feel like there can be people in position who can take on, you know, basic administrative, like, I don't know, there's so many skill sets that come with a job, but to have people on call who can say, hey, we have a week for you, a week of work that, you know, somebody in the office took some self-care, like this whole process, like just, and that's the project work, right? That can be like an independent contractor. That could be, there's so many different ways to look at that. And for somebody who may only be able to work a week, 2 weeks at a time, for whatever reason. Because again, I think that the system workers, or all of us who are in the system, caseworkers and everybody else, like, need a little bit of a break. They need peer support. They need assistance as well. You know what I mean? So that's that part.
Dennis, did you want to have a comment?
Yeah, so I do work with veterans with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, and mental health is an issue. And for me, I need to, you know, work with their social workers and their therapists, which is sometimes not always easy. And I know it's hard for organizations because, you know, each organization has a different, you know, they're not, like, I'm lucky because the VA, we're under one umbrella. So housing, employment, counseling, addiction services, they're under one kind of umbrella, and I can literally contact the therapist, the housing individual, the social worker, and kind of get on the same page of what the, you know, that person may be facing. But I know for organizations like nonprofits, sometimes you don't know who the social worker is that they're working with the county, or who providing, you know, drug addiction services, and it's hard for everybody to get on the same page. And I think that's important, that, you know, the person who does the housing, the person who does the case management, the person who does counseling, are kind of together on, you know, with the same treatment plan, rather than everyone having different treatment plans and not really knowing, you know, oh, you're working with this with your counselor, or your case manager from housing is working on this, and that's a challenge, because again, every organization has a different, you know, structure, and it's not always easy to contact them. But yeah, that's always a challenge. But I'm lucky with the VA, even within the VA, when we're all under the same organization, I still have trouble getting them to come, you know, email me back or call me back when I have a issue about a veteran. But yeah, mental health, drug addiction are big issues for me and the population I serve.
Yeah, Maureen, did you want to comment? I think you hit on a really big point, Dennis, that outside of mental health and workforce and employment is this collaboration between different organizations. When we refer someone out to another organization, keeping in the loop connectivity between workers, case managers, employment services is really vital. And every program has their own individual documents for intake and requirement for verification. And it would be nice to have a higher level of collaboration. Sorry, Maureen.
Yes, that's fine. So my mind is going like, oh, who would be some good speakers around this? So if mental health, your mental health issue is your disability, I'm thinking, let's have Department of Rehab as a speaker at a meeting, but maybe also at that meeting have a speaker from Putnam Clubhouse, which is for people recovering from mental illness. You have to have an access to, I think, diagnosis to become a member. And it's all built around the work order day. And there's lots of activities that are like, creative or social, kind of getting people, like if they were isolated, kind of getting them back working together. And then they're building skills to work. And so if we had like those two speakers together, you might want to take a tour of the Putnam Clubhouse. I've taken several tours there and I brought a lot of people there, and they have asked workforce to come speak. They do like a career and employment day. And, it might make sense to have a field trip there, and that would substitute for one of our virtual meetings. So I'm thinking, yes, this is the issue, but who are the experts that we would want to come speak to us about this? And spirit.
And with that, what qualifies an expert? I think there's that, because there's different, you can be an expert in different perspectives. And I think the question of what qualifies an expert to talk on the topic, I think is a good question to ask too.
Okay.
Dennis?
Yeah, I just wanted to give two examples of what I was referring to that I sometimes face is when a veteran I'm working with stops taking their medication and I don't know about it. Maybe the social worker knows, or the therapist knows, but they don't tell me. And so I don't know that they're losing their job or they're having issues at work, or if they're, started drinking again. And I don't know, like, I'm just the job developer. So why would they tell me? But yet I need to know this because I'm trying to get them a job, and they're I can't get hold of them. So, making sure that those are just two examples that sometimes I deal with, when they come off medication, or if they have addiction problems when they start using again. And that's why it's important to have that collaborative effort.
Maureen,
Yeah, Dennis, my clients, when they decide to quit a job or they get fired, that's when they stop talking to me or answering my phone calls. And it's incredibly frustrating. But go ahead, Jamie.
Well, I was just hearkening back to the original when we started working, like Maureen and Morgan, and like when the collaborative effort that this sort of sprung out of. I feel like there were two tracks, and this group took a track to sort of develop these meetings. But I feel like the other group was focused on something related to this, of like a tool for like case conferencing or like keeping all this stuff in the loop. And I honestly don't know what happened with that work. Do we know?
So it was more on an, I don't know, individual level, was developing that collaborative effort. It wasn't necessarily a tool that could be passed out. Developing a collaborative effort of co-management with a client. For example, if I have a client in Hope Solutions who's in my program primarily looking for housing. We're a rapid rehousing program. And I want to refer them out to, say, WIOA, Youth and Young Adult WIOA, where they have additional supports for education, paid work experience, and that kind of thing, which is more comprehensive than what employment services do at Hope Solutions, because we are primarily a housing organization. It was developing that higher level of collaboration between, say, myself or their Hope Solutions case manager and their case manager at WIOA. And the hope was that these meetings would also increase that connectivity between those outside organizations. So it would be easier to identify a person at another organization that you could make that tight collaboration with, you know, or someone at Spark Point, some kind of service that we refer out to, so we could keep in better contact of supporting the client in gaining all the services that they need. We find sometimes people need a little bit more support, motivation, accountability. So it was looking for that, but that's kind of on an individual level. And this meeting has kind of become very, we don't have a lot of workforce agencies that are attending. You know, we don't have people from Rubicon that are attending and that sort of thing. So it's, you know, challenging.
Actually, Rubicon is here. Lily's here.
Oh, Lily is here.
Lila, I'm sorry, Lila's here.
Hi, everybody. It's Lila. Thank you.
Hi, Lila. What is your role at Rubicon?
I am the Richmond site manager at 101 Broadway in Richmond. Thank
Great.
you.
So
Good
what
to
I was
see
saying
everybody.
is looking for those connections to have a person, so we can say, you know, I know Lila at Richmond, Rubicon, and if I want to make a very warm handoff or walk in and enroll one of my clients with Rubicon, I could speak to Lila directly. So I think that's kind of the other branch, Jamie.
Thank you. It had gotten fuzzy in my brain.
Did you want to move to the presentation portion, or do we have more to?
Well, I just wanted to check in. So let me just share my screen again real quickly. And so the other things that the group had said were important were families. And so this, even in our internal chat planning for this meeting, like that kind of opened up a whole bunch of questions around what do we mean when we say families and how it relates to workforce development. And I'm wondering if that would even be worth doing as like a whole topic of, like, my experience has often been in different sort of silos, right? If we think of like workforce as its own silo and homeless services, like when we say families, they mean very different things. So wondering if it's even worth doing a whole session related to that. I don't know. Go ahead, Maureen.
Yes, okay, thank you. Well, you can imagine I've been chewing on this off time. I've just been thinking and thinking and thinking about this. And in fact, I'm going to have a conversation with Narama about this topic after this meeting. So Narama is the youth program manager. But, you know, the welfare side of the house is funded by Health and Human Services at the federal level, and the workforce side of the house is funded from Department of Labor at the federal level, and never the twain shall meet. And we use completely different systems. They use CalSAWS and we use CalJobs. They're family-based already. Like when you start a case, there's places to put in people's kids and their birth dates and all that stuff. In our system, there's not even a place to record that because our funding just sees people as individuals. Yes, and so there's nothing that prohibits, you know, someone having a teenage child who is enrolled in youth WIOA and the adult is enrolled in adult WIOA, the parent is. And then the question was posed to me, well, but I said, but they're complete strangers in the system. And the question was posed to me, like, why isn't there case collaboration? And then that made me think, like, well, what's the advantage you see of case collaboration? I'm not seeing any, because each person would be on their own path. Maybe the youth is trying to get their GED or some kind of training, and the parent is trying to get a training. I have heard of cases where a parent and child, like young adult or teen or whatever, were both working on the same kind of thing. Like they were both trying to be CNAs or CMAs. And so, they helped each other with homework or something like that. That was not in our agency. That may have been in like Opportunity Junction or one of those. But our system is not set up to serve families. It's set up to serve individuals. But then I thought it would be interesting to have a case manager who has done both to speak to that. So one person who often attends these meetings, but I don't think she's here today, is Maggie Montalvo. So she was an adult WIOA case manager, and now she's a youth WIOA case manager. And so, she'd be a good person to speak to that. But I would want to have some conversations with people before. And then when I feel like someone has something to say, then I would book them as speaker. But I'm open to hearing what are the advantages of that co-collaboration. Because in the past, when we've talked about collaboration between case managers, it's case managers from two different systems collaborating to help one client. This is two clients and two case managers.
Right. Well, and I'm wondering, it's interesting. Part of the challenge is like maybe how we ask the question. Like we said, do you want to know about these things? And I think we added families as an option, but we didn't. It sounds like there needs to be some more conversations about like, what about families? Is the issue that you have people with children that are seeking workforce services, and is the issue childcare? Like what is it about families? Like, is there something specific when we say families? I'm assuming we need families with children. Like, are there specific needs for families with children where the adults are seeking employment? Okay, so Angela says, I work with homeless families and Housing Works to qualify for any of the housing programs. They must have employment or be employable. Yeah, so like, what are the unique challenges faced by families seeking employment seems to be the challenge. Like I'm trying to understand like how this came to the top, like what is it? And it sounds like the issue is we don't know what it is about families that where the challenge is. Childcare and transportation, right? So maybe it's not that we focus on families. I have identified some of these common challenges, transportation and childcare, that if we focus on those barriers, then it meets that need around families.
Yeah, another thing that springs to mind is Department of Child Support Services, but then we had Jamie Luna as a speaker.
Joe, I see your hand up.
I was just thinking about like a nanny, like, instead of like, okay, so babysitting, right? I mean, right now I'm doing the whole nanny JoJo thing. So I'm wondering if like, because like with families, a dinner, like it's hard for them to cook dinner because they're working or trying to find work or whatever that may be. Like the family dynamic, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So, but the village is not put in place. And so this idea of, babysitting childcare, like, does that mean that the child needs to go to a place, or can the care be at home where the child, there's different dynamics behind this. So I'm thinking more like doing the nanny thing, if you can find somebody who's looking for work and be a nanny thing, and then that would help the parents find work, or get work, or, so it's like a dual system there.
Yep, and I just added as a possible speaker, the Child Care Council, and I think part of what they can talk about is like how to get childcare, but also how to become a provider. So that might sort of speak to those two pieces. I see other hands are raised, but I can't see who it is. Let's see. Maureen, go for it.
Yeah, would people have interest in hearing about a program that has been running very successfully in Alameda County and is just starting in Contra Costa County? And that is a childcare apprenticeship program. So it's earn and learn. While you're learning, you have a job, maybe at the lowest level, but you're getting paid. And it's well, it's not specifically for, but I think about 20% of the people they enroll in the program, in the apprenticeship, are parents on CalWORKs. And it's a, it's a career path that can advance. You get more, like you can start, at the lowest level with only 12 units. And then you get more experience, take a few more classes, you get another certificate, you're in the next level. More units, more classes, another, and so on. So, you're associate teacher, and then you're teacher, and then you're, a supervisor at a childcare center, and so on. There's a lot to say there. So that would, that just having that one speaker could fill the presentation slot of one meeting. And now they're in Contra Costa County.
So what I'm hearing is like when we talk about employment barriers, that basically, to me, this kind of covers the entire universe. Like lack of housing is an employment barrier, transportation, childcare. Like we could just parse these out over the entire 4 meetings over the year.
Yes.
I mean, this essentially kind of covers all the things that people are struggling with.
So, well, and the other thing is when we see employment barriers, we're thinking of the barriers kind of attached to the person that are not solved by supportive services. So the criminal background thing, or if they're English language learners, but transportation and childcare, we see those as supportive services. So that's something that our program can address, but there's not like a single supportive service to deal with someone's background. So just so you know, we kind of see it as the employment barriers, we see those as populations versus supportive services.
Joe, did you have another comment to make? No, you're good.
So I think on our agenda, Maureen, does this feel like a good time to transition to your piece about the sites? And I'm gonna, you should be able to share screen.
Apprenticeship program. Actually, that teachers of Dennis, the teachers apprenticeship program, I think that's different from what I was talking about, because that's run by the county, but this is the YMCA, and they came to us for a letter of support because they're going after the AB 628 money, breaking barriers. And it's a registered apprenticeship with the state. I don't know if the teachers apprenticeship program is registered with
Okay,
the
I'm
state.
sorry. Yeah, because I have a veteran who I'm trying to get into this program, and they can get you into a child care facility for run through I think CalWORKs. But while you're they get you in working, but while you're working, they support you to get your 12 units of your early education units. So, but yeah, this was like an apprenticeship program that I just I talked to her and she was very supportive. So maybe it is different, but yeah, it is different. But yeah, she was with the county, but it is an interesting program where they can bring on somebody who has no experience in childcare, bring them on for a job as an apprentice, and while they're working in a childcare, they're getting their 12 units.
Yeah, no, but you know what? Thank you for posting that. I'm going to talk to both programs and see if they do any collaboration. So that's my homework. So do you want to switch to the websites?
Yep. So Maureen, you can share your screen if you want, so you can show people what you want to show them.
Okay, let me go there. Sorry, I'm having trouble finding the share screen. There it is. Okay. And this site. Okay, let me move this where I can see it. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little intro to two different sites. One is our local workforce site and the other is our regional workforce site. So I'll do the local one first and spend a little bit more time on it. And the reason why this popped into my head is that I saw Patience Ofodu, our business services manager, tell how to navigate this site at a recent subcommittee meeting, which was the Business and Economic Development Committee. And I thought, oh, that's good. I should present that. So I offered to present that at this meeting. So this is the landing page, and you can navigate either by going to these top navigation menus, or you can just jump on these. So business and industry, youth and young adults, job seekers and partners. We just recently added youth centers because we have Measure X money that is funding some youth centers. So we're not near launching those youth centers at all. We just put out an RFI to get agencies to help us conceptualize and plan, and then later put out an RFP to actually run the center. So we're at the very beginning of that. But these four are the main ones to look at. So we consider that we have two customer groups, job seekers and businesses, and supply and demand kind of. So in the past, workforce development has been train and pray, which is, what do you want to be trained in? Okay, we pay for that, and have had a strong relationship with employers. But we realize that that's really important. We have to support employers and businesses just as much as the job seekers, because that's where the jobs come from. And so we're all about connecting those two groups. So the About Us section, I'm not going to go to everything here, but just point out some highlights. I want to go to board members to let you know the composition of our boards. We have about 25 members. And if you're familiar with the Council on Homelessness and their seats, this is a little bit different. So our Workforce Development Board is a business-led board according to our regulations. So we have to have 51% of the seats filled by businesses. And then we have some seats dedicated to workforce and labor, and some to education and training, and then government and economic and community development. And then we have a couple of flex seats. So you can read about people's backgrounds there. We only have two subcommittees. If you don't think of the executive committee as a subcommittee, it is a subcommittee. As far as subcommittees that are focused on a particular aspect, we have the Business and Economic Development Committee, and we have the Youth Committee. And they're open to the public, and you can see the current and past agendas there. Our packets are much smaller than the Council on Homelessness packets. They rarely reach 100 pages. We usually have presenters. We frequently have presenters, so they're pretty interesting meetings. Let me see. And then, of course, our policies and agendas are there, and our local strategic plan is there that you can read. So our strategic plans are like 3 or 4 years. And then every 2 years, we do a 2-year modification where we kind of drill down and see where we are and maybe focus a little bit more on, our goals and see where do we have to shift. We're actually in the process of doing our 2-year modification right now, and I'm very involved in that. We will be having public input sessions. The first one will probably be in West County. We do that in collaboration with Richmond, the city of Richmond, which is its own workforce development board. And we'll probably have a meeting in early November. So, watch this space. Here's the business and industry section. So I'm not going to go through all of these because I think this group might be a little bit more interested in the services for job seekers. The services offered, you can see what's there. And then down here, the COVID-19 bounce back recovery. Think of that as kind of a second front door or gateway. So if you were to send an employer to our website, I would direct them to go to the business and industry and then go to the COVID-19, because that's where they can request us to reach back out to them. So this gives a little bit about the services that we offer. And also there's a form you can fill out saying, hey, contact me. I have some jobs to post and need some referrals of candidates, or I'd like to do an on-site recruitment, or I need help with tax credits, or I have no idea what you do. Maybe they're a small business that wants to apply for a grant. We always have, since COVID, we have micro grants available for businesses that are impacted by COVID. Okay, job seekers is the next section. I am gonna drill down here just a little bit. So here's the services offered. There's basic career services. So that just requires registering in CalJobs and not enrolling in WIOA. So, if you have undocumented people that you're working with, they can receive basic career services. They can come into the career center, they can attend workshops, they can use the computers, to conduct their job search. There's labor market information. So that's, what industries are dying or which ones are rising, where there's a lot of demand, which has like some quick trainings versus longer trainings, and so on. And there's also free online courses that people can take through Metrics. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And it's organized into 10 career pathways. So maybe you want to get a certificate in customer service or office administration or computer stuff. There's a way to get that for free just by registering in CalJobs. Takes 5 minutes, and you don't even have to enroll in WIOA. And there's links to register in CalJobs all over the place. If you are eligible for enrollment and you want kind of a deeper dive and more hand-holding, you want a case manager, and you are asking us to help pay for the training that you're interested in, or maybe you need some help in your job search or discerning your career path or something like that, enrolling in WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, would be the way to go. And that's what we call individualized services. So you get the assessments, the career coaching, all that. And the way into that is, let me go back. that COVID-19 page. So this is a different COVID-19 page, Bounce Back Resources, that's specifically for job seekers. So there's some videos here. Give it a chance to load. There we go. Orientation, and then resume, cover letter, CalJobs. And at the bottom there is the form to request information and going to an orientation and see if the WIO program is something that would help you in your situation. And be able to talk to a real person. So this is the I feel like this is an orientation to the orientation. There's, this is a video. You're not going to be able to ask questions. It makes sense to go to a real orientation, which is either virtual or in person, and just find out a whole lot more information about our programs and get your questions answered. What kind of job training do you offer, and what kind of supportive services do you offer, and just all that. And then when I finish my training, how do you help me get a job? How do you connecting me with employers? So I mentioned earlier in the meeting that our Comprehensive Career Center is in Concord. It's on Port Chicago Highway. It's a little removed from downtown Concord. It is served by a bus. There's a bus stop right out front, and it's pretty close to North Concord BART station, although it's kind of up the hill. So just know you'll be walking downhill to get to us, 10 minutes and maybe 20 minutes walking uphill to get back to BART. But you don't have to come to Concord to get our services. So if you go to our locations, there's actually 10 access points, 9 or 10 access points throughout the county. And those are the subcontractors of Rubicon programs that we contract with to run the WIOA program, provide case management, and run the Career Center in Concord. And so if you go to, this is one place to access this events calendar. I'm going to click on this. This gives you an idea of what is offered here. So this is kind of everything, and then there's many different entities who are offering these things. So I'll just give you some examples. So you can see every Monday there's a WIOA info session, virtual, but led by a person. And those are offered by Rubicon. And then ones that kind of look like job search webinars, like soft skills, interviewing essentials, labor market, job readiness, those are likely offered by EDD. Oh yeah, if you roll over EDD. So they're offering workshops virtually to, I think they created them for their clients who are on unemployment insurance UI, but because they're a co-located partner at the Career Center, everyone is welcome to attend those, and they're very popular. Marketing yourself, same thing. This YEOP Interview Essentials. So that's the Youth Employment Opportunity Program. So Interview Essentials geared toward youth. And there's an on-site WIOA workshop, so you can come in. And then the Workforce Development Board is also posting some things here. So of course, here's our committee meeting, another committee meeting. And then this in-person micro business relief grant, here's an example. This might be offered by our business services representative. So anyway, you don't need to know who's offering what, but just know that there's going to be all different people that you might be contacting about this. And look, here's a workshop on state careers, how to get a job with the state that EDD is offering. Okay, so let me go back. That is just our local calendar. And then if you wanted to see the regional, and I'll tell more about that when I go to the East Bay Worksite. See, now we're going to the regional site, East Bay Worksite. Here's what the calendar looks like there. But you're going to see our stuff there too. Mount Diablo, etc. Okay, and I'll show you how to search for that. So let's go back to the job seeker services, CalJobs. As I said, so the CalJobs is the state's labor exchange system. I guess the machine under it is a virtual one-stop. So that software has been around forever, and it's kind of like for the case manager, that's where they're putting their notes. For the job seeker, it's a job search management tool and a place where they can post their resume. For the employer, it's a place where they can search on resumes and they can post jobs. So it's kind of like a four-sided pyramid that does a lot of things. And I think that's it there. And then youth centers, I talked about Measure X, that's just starting. And then youth and young adults. So basically, this is the same thing as job seekers. We have 2 youth contractors to serve our youth. There's Mount Diablo Unified School District and the County Office of Education. But the way to get youth into the system is to have them reach out to one of the locations, one of the on-ramps, and then they can provide a referral to the youth contractors. And partners, so here's the partner section. Just a little bit about partners. This is a partial list of partners. We have many more, and just news about our partners. And this is where we will be putting something on, something about the Homeless Workforce Partnership. Just more news about partners. And this ETPL providers. So ETPL stands for Eligible Training Provider List. The trainings that the WIOA program pays for have to come off this list. This is a list of training providers that have been vetted by the state. So EDD has blessed all of these. And it just means that they've been vetted. They have to reach a certain placement, like 70% of their graduates have to become employed, so it's kind of like a quality control thing, because we used to have like a lot of fly-by-night places that were here and gone. They gutted that a couple of years ago, and now they put in much more rigorous standards. But if you wanted to become a training provider, this would be the place to go to find out about that. Okay, and then News Hub. So this is a really important part. There's a place, so this is just kind of things that are happening, and also the place to find our newsletters. So there's the October one. Let me just click on that so you can see what our newsletters look like. They're very nice. They're designed by Full Capacity Marketing. They've been working workforce development for a long time. There's about that grant again. And then we just had a job fair and manufacturing day. Advanced manufacturing is a big driver of the economy in Contra Costa County. Lots of hiring always happening there. We have lots of training programs, lots of money to be made. Okay, Hispanic Heritage Month, something for employers, our employees quietly quitting. Okay, here's something for job seekers. So we kind of try to mix it up, something for everyone, for our partners, for job seekers, for businesses. And you can sign up for getting those newsletters. I'll show you where they're. So here, subscribe to e-news in the upper right. Sorry, oh, there it is. Okay, at the top. Okay, yeah, so you can sign up for the newsletter here, and then you can also sign up for an email list if you're employer, job seeker, or partner. And we have a blog. Okay, and then quick links is another helpful section here. So the HR hotline is something for employers that are maybe so small that they don't have an HR person. We pay for a service, so the service is free to employers. If they have a question about wage and hour laws or something, they can call and get some advice on that. And then here's Metrics, the free online career training that I mentioned that even if you don't have documents to be enrolled and eligible for WIOA, you can still get free career training. There's like 5,000 courses, they're short. And you can come in and do them at the Career Center if you don't have a computer. There's CalJobs again, the event calendar again. And then under workforce reports, we do have some white papers. So that's your orientation to our local website. Any questions before I move to the regional website? And I can't see everyone, so I can't see raised hands. So I'm going to rely on facilitators for that.
I see no raised hands at this point.
Okay, all right. Then I'm going to go to the East Bay Work site.
And Maureen, I'm just going to give you a time check. So it's 11:35, maybe 10 minutes on this, and then we'll move to the announcements.
Okay, this is going to be much quicker. So kind of the same thing. So East Bay Works. So Contra Costa County is a part of a region of 4 workforce development boards. Contra Costa County, Alameda County, City of Richmond, and City of Oakland. So each of them get their own funding streams from the Department of Labor. They have their own workforce development boards. But we collaborate together because the state also puts out regional funding for our regional planning unit. So here's all the locations, like if you had a friend or a client had a friend or something in Alameda County, where would they go? Here's all their career centers and youth providers broken out. Here's Contra Costa County, all of our sites, all the contact information, the hours and everything, and the youth providers. There's Oakland and Richmond. And then, similar business services and job seekers and youth and young adults. And I'm just going to go to calendar that we were on this page before. But you can search by location. So, I only want to see everything that's offered at Martinez Adult School. Okay, so they offer typing test certification. I didn't search on anything there. There's more than that. And the typing test certification, this is like a really important service that we offer. Every office job asks for a typing certification. We used to offer it at the Concord Career Center for years and years, and then we had to stop when COVID hit, and then we couldn't do it because we had really old computers. Finally, all the computers are replaced. We have new computers, and we are working with Mount Diablo Adult to get that being offered again. And they're actually giving us their vouchers. So all the adult schools offer the typing test certification. But if you wanted to search on, all the orientations, we'll just leave location there. This brings up all the orientations. Oh, look, there's a Spanish orientation at Unity Council. And, you can see which ones are virtual and which ones are in person and so on. So you can search on the type of workshop you're looking for. And you can see what's going on next month. Okay, and what is that? Oh, East Bay District Contra Costa County PACT meeting. So PACT is parole and community team, I think. So people on parole being released from prison are meeting here with their parole officers to learn about services. So, okay, I think I'm going to stop there. Any questions? Let me stop sharing. Wait, no, not me share. Stop share. Okay, there we go. Okay, any questions about any of that? Okay, well, if you think of something later, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help you find something. Oh, sorry. I just realized, no, instead of going back to the site, I will put it in. What I didn't point out, and I meant to, was where to email if you just have a general question or where to call if you have a general question. I'm just going to put that information in chat. So, okay, we can move on to the next thing.
So Maureen, I have a quick question. Is it best now that everything's open and up and running, if we have a client that's job seeking or interested in WIOA, to just stop in at one of the 10 entry points?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Just walk in.
No appointments needed, and they'll get connected with someone who could register them with WIOA?
Yeah, I mean, they won't be able to meet with a case manager, but they will meet with staff and they can talk about like, okay, what is it that you're looking for? And staff are trained to know that like people can't always articulate what they're looking for, right? So they like say, well, here's my situation, and then the staff will go like, oh, we have something for you. And it sounds like you fall into this category. Would you like me to connect you with this? Would you like to, hear more about like, I can give you a tour or tell you about the variety of services, or I didn't even mention, if you're 55 plus and low income, there's a senior employment program and all that. So staff will help people discern how we can help, and they can just keep asking questions, and staff can help navigate them. And they can also, ask to talk to a supervisor who might be able to tell them more, because we're always training people. So we have transitional employees at the front desk, and you don't know who's been there only a week or it's their first day and who's a more seasoned staff. So feel free to keep asking until you get your questions answered.
Great, thank you so much. Did anybody else have any questions about Maureen's presentation? Because I think we're going to move into the announcements section. So this is a great time if you have any announcements about your organization. Also, if you would like to, we have a few minutes left. We have some extra time if anybody wants to follow up on something that came up in the meeting that they didn't get a chance to comment on. Timothy, did you have something to say?
I did not accidentally unmute myself, but I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. All right.
Morgan, do you see Betty has her hand up? It's hard to see in the corner of her
Oh,
screen.
Betty. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to let folks know about a job opening. It's actually with Brighter Beginnings, but we are hiring for a financial coach who would work with SparkPoint at Contra Costa College and Diablo Valley College. So at those two sites. So if you know of anyone who might be interested in being a financial coach, please send them our way.
Is a job posted on your website, Betty?
It would be on it should be on Brighter Beginnings website.
Brighter Beginnings. Okay, great. Thank you. Gerald, did you have your hand up?
I do. I have a selfish question. I would like, if possible, to speak with Jamie at the end of this meeting.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Jasmine?
Hi, yes, I wanted to announce that we do have our Alpha program starting on Monday, November 14th. It's our 8-week program where individuals have the opportunity to receive different presentations from different organizations to share their services, things like that. It's also heavily on Thinking for Change curriculum, and they do have an opportunity to get a stipend every week. So it's an 8-week program, Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. And I will definitely work on sending you all the flyer so that you all are aware of that. We also do have a cleanup every month, every third Saturday of the month, where individuals, they come together and they clean up the park across the street from our office, actually here in Richmond, and on McDonald Avenue. And yeah, our members get together. We clean up the park every month just to maintain the cleanliness of it, to hopefully, just keep it looking pretty and things like that. So We will have that this Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. So if anyone is interested, we are looking for individuals. That way too, we can get a good head count, especially on ordering food. So, and again, we do work with justice impacted individuals and their families. So if anyone is interested in that, I can put my email in the chat and phone number so y'all can call me or reach out if you need any more information. Thank you.
Yeah, please put your information in the chat, Jasmine. Also, is the upcoming Alpha program, is it in person or is it virtual on Zoom?
Yes, so it is going to be hybrid. So we are able to house 8 people upstairs in our meeting room, but also we have another room downstairs where we can host another 8 individuals. So we are limited on the amount of individuals that we can fit in one room, but we do offer hybrid both online and in person.
Great, thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything, any comments or announcements? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Joe, you're good, thumbs up. All right, so it looks like we are able to wrap up a little bit early. Jamie and Maureen, do we have another meeting scheduled for this year?
Right now, we have the next meeting, I think, the next meeting is scheduled for December 13th, I believe. I'll double check. Let me, oops, I accidentally closed down the.
14th is what
Thank
you
you.
have at the bottom of the agenda.
Got it. And then I think next year we'll move to quarterly, or we could just, I mean, do folks feel like you want to have a meeting in December? Or do you want to just start the new pattern next year? I'm seeing nodding. Maybe we'll just take December off and start next year. Anybody strongly opposed to that? All right, so we'll start next year. I guess actually this is a quick question. Do we want to, if we're going to do it quarterly, do we want to start in January, February, March? Do people have a strong feeling?
I vote for either having it start in February. Well, probably February.
January is really crammed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna put my email.
February.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then what would that be? February, July, October, and November? No, that can't be right.
I'll set that up, but right now it's the second Wednesday of the month. So whatever the, hold on, I can look and see. The second Wednesday is February 8th. Is the next H1. Okay. So I will create meeting links that have a recurrence and make sure those get out to everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, February.
Perfect. All right, we're liberated. I'm going to stop
Okay.
recording.